Hey everyone, welcome to Tuesday Night Legacy presented by Spellhold Games. My name's Eugene, and we're here in round 3 from our weekly tournament on January 11th. Let's get right into it. On the left here, we have Mason on Death and Taxes from round 2, starting off with a turn 1 Aether Vial. It's a strong card to get around a lot of counter magic, getting all those little creatures that annoy their opponents into play nice and early and without trouble. On the right side, we have Michael on land, starting off with a Grove of the Burn Willows. This is a classic include into the lands deck since it actually gives your opponent life, which triggers with Punishing Fire, but we'll touch on that just a little bit later. Mason activating that Aether Vial to get in Esper Sentinel. This creature allows him to draw a card whenever their opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, unless they pay an extra one. It's kind of like a Rhystic Study on a creature, but only activates once. It's kind of enough to stop opponents from just giving free cards to the Death and Taxes player, and that's always nice, getting that extra turn in. Casting an Umezawa's Jitte here on Mason's side. This is a really good control card against a creature deck, but against the lands deck, there's not a ton going on. Thespian Stage, this land actually copies any other land by paying 2 and tapping it. So this combos with the Dark Depth there, which if you remove 20 counters from it, or excuse me, 10 ice counters from it, then the 2020 Indestructible Flying Merit Lage comes into play. If you do tap Thespian Stage and copy the Dark Depths, it actually allows for it to come into play with Thespian Stage not having any ice counters on it, and then it becomes the Merit Lage. Oh, we just saw the Punishing Fire take care of the Esper Sentinel there. The way it works with Grove of the Burn Willows is you can pay the 1, and if your opponent has gained any life this turn, you can return it from the graveyard to your hand. So Grove of the Burn Willows creates that red mana, gains your opponent the life, and goes right back to the hand. So if the game goes on long enough, you can just use that Punishing Fire to whittle down your opponent for 20 turns, dealing 1 damage a turn. It's not the fastest way to win, but it is a consistent way to win. All right, let's see here. Michael shuffling it up. Michael having a little bit of a thick deck there. He likes to triple sleeve his cards. Just to be a little extra careful. He's got some good stuff going on in that deck. All right, back to Mason. Got a silent clearing for the turn. Thinking about what's going to come down. Another Aether Vial. Wasteland coming down, going to get the Rishadan Port. Rishadan Port can tax the mana of your opponent, but not if it's in the grave, so a pretty good play for Michael there, making sure that he has access to all of his mana. I believe that Michael is a little bit worried here about the Dark Depths Thespian Stage combo being active at any time, since that is a land ability. It can be activated at any time like an instant, so he can create the Merit Lage at the end of Michael's turn to have a fresh 2020 ready to crash in and take the game at a minute's notice. So Death and Taxes usually runs a playset of Swords to Plowshares. This would completely negate the Merit Lage, but it would gain Michael 20 life, which would make things really hard to come back from, at 39 life. All right, we see Michael play Urza Saga here. This is an advantage card that was recently printed with Modern Horizons 2. It's going to be able to create a construct. For 2 mana, he can make a XX construct, which X is equal to the number of artifacts he has in play. And then on the 3rd counter, it's going to go and get him an artifact from his deck for free that costs 0 or 1. We see Mason had activated the Aether Vial at the end of Michael's turn to get the Stoneforge Mystic, and I believe he got Sword of Fire and Ice thinking that Michael was going to kill it since he only has 2 power in response to that search trigger, but he did not, so the Kaldra Complete is not in Michael's hand, or in Mason's hand, excuse me. All right, there goes the Stoneforge Mystic. 2 mana for, I believe he was trying to activate to equip the Umezawa's Jitte, and that was the response there. All right, we are copying Thespian Stage. Oh, copying Urza Saga with that Thespian Stage. So now Thespian Stage is a copy of Urza Saga, and it will gain counters just like Urza Saga does. So 2 counters for Urza Saga. Another Urza Saga into play. This is a real powerhouse of a card for lands in the current iteration of Legacy because it can by itself win games just through attrition. All right, 3 mana and the Sword of Fire and Ice is down, but no creatures to equip any of these equipments to, unfortunately. All right, Michael did activate the Urza Saga that was on 2 counters last turn to get one of his constructs, and now one is on 3, one is on 2, and the other one is on 2. Oh, goodness. There's a lot going on here. Okay, a Wasteland for... I'm not even entirely certain what happened there. I think he wastelanded the Dark Depths, trying to make sure that that wasn't going to be a problem later. Another construct down. And an activated Aether Vial gets Stoneforge Mystic, grabbing that Kaldra Complete. Mason is at 4 mana at the moment. I think he was waiting until Michael was tapped out of red mana to make sure that he could get Kaldra Complete down. Oh, this is all happening on Michael's main phase because the Urza Saga that was on 3 counters is finally resolved, and he went and got a 1 mana artifact, Shadow Spear. I believe I have that one. Oh, Sword of Fire and Ice. Shadow Spear gives his creature +1/+1 trample and lifelink, and he can actually have his opponent's creatures lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn for 1 mana, so taking away Kaldra's greatest strength. Let's see here what's going on now. We have all sorts of ready to pop Urza Sagas. The Stoneforge Mystic coming down, or tapping, getting Kaldra Complete into play. 5 mana discount. I believe he's going to attempt to equip the Kaldra with the Sword of Fire and Ice. That will happen. And he's swinging in for 7. This is a protection from red and protection from blue. If it contacts with the player, then he can deal 2 damage and draw a card. All right. In response, a Crop Rotation is going to get the Dark Depths. And I believe he's going to go for a Merit Lage. Okay, Merit Lage into play. Ooh! The Flicker Wisp comes in off of the Aether Vial since he can activate it at instant speed. This is actually going to exile another target permanent, and because that permanent is a token, it does not re-enter the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So that is a pretty great answer to a indestructible flying 2020. And that 9 damage does go through with the Kaldra, or with the Germ that has Kaldra and Sword of Fire and Ice attached to it. Back to Michael's turn. He is copying his Urza Saga with the basic forest, and he is explaining to Mason that the way that layering works is those lore counters will stay on the Urza Saga, well, on the Thespian stage, with the abilities of the Urza Saga, even though it is now a basic plains, or a basic forest, with the Thespian stage ability. So unfortunately, it is a loophole that will allow that Urza Saga to stay around forever. So each turn he can activate it once and create a construct that has the XX ability. 2 lands. 2 Mox Diamonds played. He has to discard a land from his hand or else sacrifice the Mox Diamond. So he's discarding Karakas and Horizon Canopy. Looking through the grave just for a minute. Thinking about tapping 3 mana. Moving some mana around. It looks like he's got a Valakut Exploration in his hand. I believe that's what comes down here. Okay, so the land for turn is Ancient Tomb. Tapping that, they can do damage. Sorry about losing the life counter there. They moved it just off screen. That will be rectified in a little bit here. So let's see here. The construct coming in, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4/4 plus the +1/+1, so it's a 5/5. It, not indestructible, but lifelink trample. Kind of a good way to stem the tide against the 9 damage coming in each turn. Flicker Wisp and Cauldron Complete coming in. It looks like the Cauldron's got the Umezawa's Jitte attached to it now. Punishing Fire brings back, gets rid of the Flicker Wisp. Michael's staring down 9 damage, plus 2 Jitte triggers from this Cauldron Complete. Looks like it hit. I'm not entirely certain what the life totals are right now. Oh, there we are. 18-5, so that's pretty good for Mason. He's got 2 triggers on that Jitte, and another Vial down with 5 cards in hand. We will see where this goes. So, yep, making that construct. So if this game goes on for a little bit longer, it looks like Michael will turn the tide, even though a 7/7 indestructible trample exile your guy is pretty good. It's just 1 creature. If you have 7 7/7s and an 8/8 with lifelink, oh, there's a Swords to Plowshares from Mason's side. So gain a little bit of life back, but at least deal with that right then and there. Only 2 4/4 constructs in play right now. 5/5 constructs. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artifacts. Life from the Loam, that's going to get Michael 3 lands back from the grave. Oh, yes. And he's going to Wasteland the Karakas. Karakas, a great answer to Marit Lage as well, since Marit Lage is legendary. The Germ coming in. Crop rotation played. He's going to be able to go and get any land from his deck by sacrificing the Ancient Tomb there. And yep, you guessed it, it's Maze of Ith. So this untaps target attacking creature and prevents all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by that creature. So it becomes untapped and it is removed from combat. Doesn't matter how big it is if it can't deal combat damage. Jitte does still have 2 triggers on it, but it's not looking great right now, as he can only give -1/-1 to a creature, or pump the creature it's attached to for +2/+2, or gain 2 life. So unless Michael or Mason answers the Maze of Ith, it's looking a little tough. So Michael plays Valakut Exploration. Every time a land comes into play, he exiles the top card of his library and can play it for as long as it is exiled. And then if he ends his turns with cards exiled by Valakut Exploration, they take damage for each card that is exiled. So he casts that crop rotation to get a second Maze of Ith. This has basically stopped Mason's forward momentum completely, but Mason's going to stick it out. Going to Vial in a Mother of Runes, so at least Punishing Fire isn't really a problem anymore. And he's going to try and get in with Kaldra. Maze of Ith going to untap it and pass it back. We have Valakut Exploration, Wasteland coming down. I think he's going to cast the Wasteland, make another construct. Not going to cast the Wasteland, but you don't cast lands, so it's just going to sit on the side. He's going to take 1 damage from that, and we're good. A third Mother of Runes. The only problem with Mother of Runes is it can protect something from any color, but almost everything on Michael's side is colorless. And you can't choose colorless as a color, unfortunately. That is Giver of Runes. Oh boy, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 artifacts. So those are all 8/8s, except for the one that has the Shadow Spear. That's a 9/9. Urza's Saga down there, getting its 3rd trigger. We're going to make another construct, and then make another construct. That's going to be, oh goodness gracious, it's going to be 7 constructs. We're going to flicker one of the constructs. So that's going to get rid of it just like Marit Lage was, but he's going to go and get another artifact out of his deck. It's going to be Expedition Map. Expedition Map gets him any land out of his deck and gets to put it into his hand. Kind of a little bit slower crop rotation, but if you don't have green mana, it's fantastic. All right, 2 mana will get us a Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. This makes all non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast, which is pretty much Michael's whole deck. But his spells aren't very expensive, and most of the stuff he's doing is through his lands anyways, so a little bit too late. We're making another construct. He's counting them up. Let's count it up with him. 1, 2, oh, moving around a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So these are all 11 11s, except for the 12 12, and that's going to be game. Yep, that's just a little bit too much to get around. I think that was something along the lines of 100 damage. I'm not entirely certain. 88 plus 12, yeah, 100. All right, Mason with the Aether Vial start. Looks like Mox Diamond, pitch Tabernacle. Yavimaya, get back Tabernacle. Pretty good start. All right, just a Plains pass. No, Plains, second Aether Vial. Oh, geez, a Force of Vigor. Pitching crop rotation is going to blow up both Aether Vials. Pretty good value. You can cast Force of Vigor, kind of like Force of Will if you pitch a green card to destroy 2 target artifact or enchantments. Going to cast, yep. Going to cast Life of the Loam, get back Wasteland, get back Thespian Stage off of that Loam trigger. Mason looking at 3 basic lands. Gonna throw down the Phyrexian Revoker. I'm not 100% certain what it's naming here. I believe it has to be non-land. Might be Mox Diamond. Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale. It cannot tap for mana. Well, it can now because of Yavimaya being in play, and all lands are now forests, but it forces all creatures have at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature unless you pay 1. Or I believe it's actually been errata to destroy this creature unless you pay 1. Found that out the other day. Drop of Honey being played here. This is at the beginning of Michael's upkeep. Destroy the creature with the least power, and it cannot be regenerated. But if there are no creatures in play, then you destroy Drop of Honey as well. So this is just a... You can get rid of a lot of creatures, especially if your opponent doesn't have very few creatures, or they have very few but very powerful creatures. Drop of Honey gets rid of them with relative ease. All right, we're casting Life from the Loam, getting a lot of value here. Another Thespian Stage, getting an Urza's Saga. Palace Jailer coming down from Mason's side. This is going to make him the Monarch, which means that he can draw a card at the end of his turn, but he can lose that Monarch trigger if he is dealt combat damage by Michael. This will take a little while to happen, as he needs at least a Construct, perhaps, to get into play to deal some combat damage. 2 Valakut Explorations, so every time he plays a land, he's going to get 2 triggers off of those Valakuts. He's going to play Exploration, or he's going to play Grove off of that Exploration there, since he gets an extra land drop. He's going to play another Exploration, allows him to play another Wasteland. He has no cards in hand, so he can't cast that Mox Diamond, but it doesn't really matter because that's 3 damage from the Valakut Explorations. And he's pointing to Sphere of Resistance, pointing out that all spells cost 1 more to cast now. So Michael in an extremely good spot. Although he cannot make that 2/2, or he can't make his Construct, but I don't think that's what he's really worried about right now. Pointing to Tabernacle to pay the 1 upkeep. Stoneforge Mystic getting cast, looking for Cauldron Complete. Hoping for the best here, I think. Depending on the Loam trigger, or if Michael goes for a Loam trigger next turn, how many lands he can pull back. and kind of go absolutely crazy with these 2 Valakutes and 2 Explorations in play. He's thinking about it. It's going to go up to 3. I think he floats the mana rather than making the creature. He's not really worried about the Monarch trigger at this point. He's going to get Expedition Map with his Urza Saga trigger. Probably allowing him to go get the Maze of Ith so that he's not worried about Kaldra in this situation. No, he's getting the Dark Depths. He wants to close it out. Swords to Plowshares be damned. So Dark Depths coming into play. Multiple Valakut triggers. That's the 2nd land for turn. More Valakut triggers, 3rd land for turn. Showing an Exploration. More Valakut triggers. Casting the Exploration. Although he should be paying 1 more mana. Might have missed it. Unless he tapped that Thespian stage for it. In which case, I apologize, Michael. Alright, 4 cards. So 4 damage. It's not going to take a ton of turns to close this out if he keeps drawing lands that way. And now he has 4 land drops a turn, so that could be a total of 8 damage if he does not deal anything with the Valakut Explorations. Looks like he's attempting to attack. Oh, to see if he would untap the Stoneforge Mystic to allow him to get Kaldra in play. Well, there is the 2020 Merit Lage. He was leaving the 1 open so that he could Solitude it, creature-style Swords to Plowshares effect. When it enters the battlefield, you get to exile a creature and they gain life equal to its power. So that puts Michael up to 33. And yep, Michael will loam here. He's gonna dredge 3 cards into his graveyard to put it back in his hand so that he can cast it. And he did not pay the extra, but I think that's going to be okay here. He has tons of mana to be able to do so. There's a lot going on. Sometimes it's a little tough to keep track of all these things going on. Cast. Okay, well, maybe he should be. That's okay. He goes and gets Urza Saga with the crop rotation so that he can make more constructs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Puts Mason down to 4. He sacrifices the Palace Jailer, saying, I'm not going to pay for it. Wants to get the Kaldra in play. Throws down a Wasteland. And looked like he had a couple other equipments in his hand. He's got a Kaldra. He's got Umezawa's Jitte. Now, something that I learned a few games ago is that Kaldra Complete is not affected by Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. If you do not pay the 1, it attempts to destroy it, not sacrifice it, and because it is indestructible, then it does not be destroyed. So, gotta really read the errata words on cards nowadays, especially these older cards. All right, I think Mason is packing it up and says there's just too much value on that side. Good games. And I would like to thank you for joining us for round 3 here, and we don't have a round 4, so we'll see you next week. Thanks.